Hey, it's the Brian and Kindra Show. Welcome.
Welcome. You're on one this morning.
Is it still morning?
Well, I mean, I know this is actually going to show up in the evening.
Yes.
But some people are going to listen to it on their podcast.
Yes.
Which would probably be in the morning when they're getting their hair done and their makeup on and stuff. That's when I listen to podcasts. Okay, so super cool thing that I didn't realize, and Nathan showed me the other day. So, okay, we've talked before that our show is on the podcast. It's on the podcast. I say that like my brother says going to the Walmarts. Like we both know the difference.
The Walmarts.
It's just how it just flows naturally in our conversation. And we know that I have words I say wrong, so let's just add the podcast to it.
Yes, it's like the Twitter.
So, no, that's Twitter.
Oh.
Just kidding. Okay. Anyway, here's what I'm trying to say. So our radio program is also on our Facebook Live, which isn't really live anymore, but it still says that because I forget not to say that. Okay. So it's on Facebook. You can watch it there. You can watch it on YouTube. You can go to thebrianandkindrashow.com and you can find all kinds of avenues that you can listen to or watch our show. Okay. So back to the podcast platforms. Excuse me. There's a super cool thing now that it shows you chapters. Like you can,
it is.
You can
just
skip through this part where I'm driving you crazy and just get right to the meat of the program. And I think that's super duper cool. Or
I use those all the time.
Oh, you do?
I'm like, there, I want to hear about that.
Oh,
Go.
Well, I don't do that. I actually listen to every show from the front to the end, whether it's my History Daily or if it's like one of my Bible podcasts. So I have a couple or three Bible podcasts. When I listen to Father Mike Schmitz, I listen to him from the front to the end. Also, I'm not Catholic, but anyway, it's cool.
You got to learn.
Because I feel like I know him.
I listen to...
And I feel like I know John Piper now. And I feel like I know Tara Lee Cobble because I listen to them every day from the front to the end. So I think, oh, man, we're just having a good old time chatting right now.
I had a hard time. I listened to...
So you're telling me you listened to the show to see if we had anything good and you skipped past me.
I mean, I don't know I don't know if it's exactly how that happens. Kindra speaking, scroll up.
Oh, whoops, there's nothing left. Okay, anyway, I thought it was super duper cool.
Yeah.
So if you happen to listen to the podcast and you're like, there's one part that you need to share with your friend, your sister, your uncle, whatever, you can go further into that podcast, whichever platform it's on. We saw that it was on Spotify that way. We saw that Apple does it that way. I think I did find one podcast platform that didn't, but I can't remember which one it was. Anyway. Super cool. Just a fun little tip. The other thing, we don't ever do this, but I'm doing it. I didn't ask you either.
Great.
I know, it's awesome. What is that about?
Is this editable?
Just ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
We have not really promoted the podcast portion of this, but I think that it's time because we have quite a few episodes.
Only like 100.
I think there's
200.
Yeah, like a 200 or something. Anyway. Yeah. If you would, give us the little stars. I mean, I like the 5 stars the best. They're my favorites.
Yeah, but hey, as long as you hit the button, that means we have action.
I hear it helps us if you do that. So if you would, hit the stars. 5, please.
Yes.
Anyway, so a little shameless plug. Hope that's okay. I'm not going to do it again this time. Okay, so we want to talk about spring maintenance because I've been sneezing. In fact, we had to stop. We started to record and I said, wait, I have to blow my nose again because the allergies are real, which means it is time to get outside and do some work.
It is time.
So Jack and I actually started doing some outside work in February. So, we love pool season and my dog loves swimming.
Yes.
And she is a very good swimmer, but we don't really want her in the pool that much this summer. So we had to put up a fence around our deck area so that Tilly would stay off of it. So we've already started some of our spring maintenance and we're looking at our flower beds and we're doing some things like that. But we're really doing like the fun things. We're not really doing the hard stuff yet. We wanted to talk about the maintenance on the program today. We want to talk about the maintenance that helps us to keep our homes in the best order, which again is going to help you when it comes time to sell. So let's get going. My least favorite one.
Sweet. Get on the roof.
Get on the roof. Clean out the gutters and the downspouts.
Which is gross. And it was fall
disgusting.
and it's wet. And icky. But yeah, it's a good time to get all of that cleaned out. You should have done it in the winter before the snow. Did we have snow this year? A little bit.
We had like once.
So, but if you haven't done that yet, you need to get that done before it starts raining. And then, so those just clog up they clog up your gutters, and then they shove water up under your shingles, and then they mess up your drip edge and your fascia, rot that out. I mean, then your whole house falls apart. Just bam.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
I might have skipped a few steps, but hey.
I don't think so, but before real estate, like I've learned so much about property preservation and maintenance from being in real estate.
Yeah.
And things that really I don't remember my dad particularly talking to me about. And I didn't necessarily notice my ex-husband working on, and that's not saying that it didn't happen. I just didn't see it maybe. Mm-hmm. But like, I did not understand how important it is to clean out those gutters. Like, I didn't understand that the water would push back up into the roof line and damage the soffits and fascia. I didn't get that. Yep. So it's not just, some of this stuff like sounds like we're just saying, make it pretty, keep it pretty.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's really a preservation for your property.
Yeah. And then like sometimes the leaves will, if you don't have a steep roof, they'll gather in the valleys. That's another, get them out of there. Now, you don't want to wait till it's 100 degrees to do that, because then you'll mess up your shingles.
I thought that if you left your leaves up there, it was just extra insulation.
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
No? Okay. My bad. All right. Reseal exterior woodwork.
So this is...
Are you yawning?
I am. I'm sorry.
We're not even to the boring
we
part
haven't even started yet.
Gee whiz. Okay, reseal the exterior woodwork. Decks.
Yeah, so...
Fences,
decks, any of that stuff. Yeah, so if you want your fence to last,
Oh, I need to seal Ethan's fence.
You shoot another coat of sealer on it. So
what are we talking about though? Like, what kind of a sealer am I shooting on there? Like, let's really like go dumb it down. Like, because here's the deal. This is something Jack and I talked about this the other day. I was single. I was the woman in charge of my home for 5 years, and I realized like I really didn't know very much, and I really had to pull a lot from what I'd been hearing all around me in the real estate world to make sure that I kept my property in the best. That I preserved it in the best way possible while I was the one maintaining my home. And I still think that's super important. And now I'm a much better helper now that I'm married and I'm not the main person in charge. Thank you, Lord. I don't like being the main person in charge.
Still the boss, but just not in charge.
Okay. Well, it's nice to have somebody to help, you know? And now I'm really good at holding the flashlight. So what am I supposed to seal the fence with though? And I forgot to do that at my cute little tiny house. I need to get back over there.
Yes. So it's just it's a protectant sealer. I mean, you can get them at Sherwin-Williams. They sell them at Ace, Atwoods, Walmart. They're usually, you can get them cleared, you can get them stained. If your fence is too bad, deteriorated, like, shoot, I didn't do it for 19 years. Ooh. Then they have a paint stain that you can, it's got and paint is a sealer.
Yes.
So, a paint stain actually covers up the blemishes. So if you like 4 different colors of fence pickets, you can just paint stain it. Okay,
but really, so then if I didn't want to stain it and I wanted to have like an artsy-fartsy backyard, I could just paint it?
You could just paint it. Let's seal it.
Fun. Okay, what else do I...
Jack.
He has a vinyl fence.
Oh,
it's going to be Ethan with flowers all over his backyard.
You don't have to seal your vinyl fence.
Just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm not very artsy. Okay.
You can just put it in a weed sprayer. Like they make them. I say a weed sprayer, but I think they make them now with better fittings because your weed sprayers used to clog up, just spraying it on there. But you can just pump up air, shoot it on there. It's better to actually take a brush and go behind your weed sprayer to level out your lines if you got them. But there's really not a need to power wash it prior to doing that. You just seal that sucker.
Awesome. So other things, like we were looking at our pergola. We need to spray the pergola at our house and seal that up really nice. The paint around your soffits and fascia. So this is another thing. This is not necessarily the same kind of sealant. This is probably going to be paint.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you want to make sure if you got any bare wood, if you have any rotten spots in your wood, and you're not going to just like replace it, you can use either a Bondo product or a wood filler product that's for exterior use, or caulking. Depends how big the holes are. I looked at a house yesterday that's some of the corners rotten out, and you can see where somebody has Bondoed the corner and then they just didn't sand it well. But again, there's several ways to fix that without having to just rip it all off.
Absolutely.
So
I think that Bondo trick is not one that everybody knows.
No, I didn't even know it till Mr. Jalapeno Handyman.
I used it on my prior house, not Meadowview before that. Mhm.
Really? It was
Actually, I didn't. My precious sister-in-law, who was much better at all the things, I had told her, I said, I've understood that we can put some Bondo up here because I had some wood rot on my back sunroom patio area. And I said, I've understood that we could do this. Da, 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 da. I don't know anything about it. And she goes, that sounds like a project.
Yeah.
And man, bless her heart, she got over there and she did it. And it was so cool. You had no idea.
No idea. And
it's not the same as Bondoing your car. Don't put Bondo on your car. That ruined my 67 Mustang. But it was great for the wood.
It wasn't done correctly.
I don't know. That stresses me out. Don't tell people to put it on their cars. Really?
That's what Bondo was made for.
Well, it was all jacked up, Brian.
Who did it?
I don't know. I bought it that way.
Okay, yeah. See, that's why. Yeah, if it's done correctly, it's all right.
Okay, all right. So, I mean,
there are destructions on the back of the can. If you want to destruct it,
I don't know. I just know Keisha killed it on the trim.
So yeah,
of my
it's pretty
house,
cool.
So.
Bondo's great for fixing any of that woodwork stuff.
All right. So regardless, go around the outside of your house. So we see this frequently on FHA. In fact, we got an FHA appraisal back yesterday on a property that we're selling. And that was, I think I'm like in hyper mode. Do you know how fast I'm talking? I'm sorry, you guys. Let me slow that down. We had an appraisal back yesterday, and it was saying that we needed to repaint quite a bit of the property because there was some cracks and peeling paint on the soffits and the fascia.
Yep.
So we really want to encourage you to just keep on with that, keep on top of it so that it doesn't become an issue. It's a lot easier for you to handle a couple of spots now than to have to redo the whole house later.
Yes.
Right? And eventually, I guess you do have to do the whole house.
Right. And your little house on Meadowview has lap siding that is
yes, it does
masonite.
And I've got some places on that north side I really need to fix.
So if you like on that, is you making sure that you get it good and sealed up underneath the lip, so as water runs down it before it drips. If you have not sealed the underneath, it will wick it back up inside that siding.
It does, and that my cute little tiny house was the perfect example of that because the north side. It just had a lot more deterioration. But when I went to paint that house, like you could really see where they had put the paint on the fronts, but they didn't do, I don't know who they were.
And they probably sprayed it. And if you spray,
that makes
you're spraying
a difference.
the face of it and you're not really, and you're putting a light coat on, you're not getting it dabbed up underneath there.
Gotcha. But I could see that. Like you could see the color differences. I was making up new words again.
Color.
Cinematometer, whatever. Okay. So right there underneath that lip though, I could tell there was not a bit of paint. And of course, those bottom 3 or 4 places were really deteriorating.
Yep.
And so I actually put a bead of caulking under there just to help to seal it further. And then I painted and made sure I got all of that.
Yep.
So thank you for bringing that up. I forgot all about.
That's a biggie because it doesn't.
Man, it gets us.
And you get it. I mean, you see it every day, and it doesn't trip until it's like, hey, I'm selling my house. And then.
Right.
It's bad.
And then I think then it feels more frustrating and stressful because it feels like an expense plus an expense plus an expense.
Yeah.
But we want to handle those things, if possible, before we go to sell the house so that your house is tip top. The house shows better when the buyer doesn't think it has to do, and when the buyer thinks they don't have to do any extra work to it. So, okay. This is funny. I told Brian, I don't think that we've ever actually had this come up on our spring maintenance list, but we just had Jake Persall last week with JCP Services. And the next thing on our list is to check for signs of termites. And I don't know if we even addressed this with Jake. I meant to ask him if we should be having our homes professionally inspected annually or every other year.
He said it's good to do it. He said it's good to do it every year. But every couple of years for sure. For sure. So the cost is really nominal in the whole scheme of things. Right. So $125, $150. Don't quote me. I mean, like, I'm not the one. He does his own invoicing. But that's about the prices that we see for a termite inspection. And there's other great termite inspectors in town, of course. Yep. So you've got people to choose from. It's not a bad idea to have it done. And again, it's one more thing that if we take care of these things as we go, whenever we're ready to sell, it doesn't surprise us. And I think that the element of surprise is so much more frustrating during a contract than it is if you just have it done, I mean, just randomly. Yeah, you said it perfect just a minute ago. It's at closing, at sell time, it feels like an expense where the rest of the year it's just maintenance.
Right.
So a year before you sell, it's maintenance. Now we got to sell it. It's an expense.
Right.
That's a good way to look at it. So
awesome.
Work on
okay,
maintenance.
So you might want to consider reaching out. And again, if you need any contacts for those kinds of inspectors, just shoot Brian or I a text message and we are happy to share. I've got a list of different types of inspectors on my phone and I share the whole list. Mm-hmm. And you can call them and discuss what they do, how they do it, what their pricing is, and you can make that decision. I'm happy to share the number. So my number, 580-216-0090. If you need inspector people, just shoot me a message and I'll send those back to you. Yep. All right. Inspect the roof.
So this is great. Now, the trick is don't get on your roof. The more traffic you have on the roof, the more traffic you have on your roof, the more damage you have, the more granular loss you have, faster your roof wears out.
Yeah, it's awesome. So don't get on your roof, but you have to be up on your roof to see if you have damage.
Yes. So they say use binoculars or a camera or smartphone and zoom in.
You want to call Nathan and have him come drone it?
There is a drone program. So you can drone it.
It makes the most sense because, I mean, you can drone over every square inch of that roof not just roof line, and see what's going on and then have pictures to show your insurance guy or gal.
Yeah. If you have issues, then you can call your insurance guy and file a claim if you need to. But again, I would discuss that with your insurance before you file claims.
I actually have a funny story about that. So there's a snowstorm approaching Woodward a few weeks ago. I popped my drone up really quick and I just took a 360 photo really fast. And there was a business downtown that texted me later like that week and said, hey, that drone photo was awesome. We actually looked at our roof and we zoomed in from the 360 photo and we realized that our roof's in really good shape. So
awesome.
It wasn't even like I wasn't anywhere near their roof.
Right.
And they were able to look at the 360 photo and zoom in, and they actually, and somebody even from another business said, "Oh, weird, that looks like a puddle. We should get up there and look." And so, I had like 2 people.
Yeah,
and it wasn't
check out the roofs. That wasn't the purpose.
Yeah,
absolutely not your intention, but it worked out really well for someone.
It's just a funny story, but yeah,
that's awesome.
So.
That's crazy. So there you go. Drone could be a serious option for you if you need to have your roof looked at, but you don't want to crawl up there. And here's the thing. Not everyone needs to be crawling up on the ladder with their binoculars or the camera anyway.
No.
So remember my number, 580-216-0090. Let's find someone that can help you with that if that's a concern. All right. Paint the exterior. We talked about that quite a bit. Did I miss something?
No, it was like reselling woodwork. We bounced straight into exterior.
My bad.
And if you want the new paint colors, they're out. 2024 paint color of the year. I remember it's like a tan color.
Oh, that's disappointing. I was hoping for green.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it is a green.
Actually, I
think
really
the interior
that nice
color
light.
of the year was a green.
I love those colors. Man, I love those colors.
No.
All right. Inspect the driveways and the paths. Tell me more, because this is not an area I'm super knowledgeable about.
Okay, so anytime you have a crack in a driveway or your asphalt or your sidewalk that actually water can go through, it's interesting. Like when we was at our building on Main Street, you could walk in the parking lot with like a golf ball and bounce on the concrete, and you could hear it hollow underneath.
Right. This was a couple of buildings ago.
Yes, and so the water, what happens is it actually erodes. So as water runs through those cracks, and if you have it funneling in, it will erode more and more and more, and it will wash it out from underneath your concrete, which seems like nearly impossible. Which that's why we have caves, but it seems impossible. But
you just love this with your little science brain, don't you?
Yeah. So I guess, and so you should seal those. So that's why you see people come out and they reseal their parking lots. Because I always thought, man, why are they painting their parking lot? That's dumb. No, there's a purpose. And so they reseal the cracks and then they seal the parking lot to keep water from penetrating, so it doesn't wash out underneath. And then that's when you see there's several driveways in town. You'll see them. They have settled, and there's a 3 or 4 inch gap, which now becomes a tripping hazard. But that's because of this washout underneath. They actually now make a structural foam that you can pump under your concrete and lift it.
Awesome.
And then it becomes a structure underneath, and then they sealed the cracks. It's a pretty cool thing.
Interesting.
Obviously, we don't have that in woodwork, but I've seen the advertisements and the guy at Home Depot in Wichita up there. So
that's commercial. What does that look like in my residential?
So in your residential, like so I'm saying this because of driveways. In driveways, I see that they've settled in between, in a seam. You're like, why did this settle? Well, that's why water's washing out underneath it.
Okay.
As it's running down the hill, it's sucking in, washing that out. Then the next problem is like your tree roots pushing your sideway and driveways up. I'm not sure how you really prevent that without digging down and removing the roots before they get there, which is kind of an extensive thing. We love our trees, but we hate our trees.
We do. It is such a love-hate relationship with our trees. But how do I seal the cracks in my driveway and in my sidewalk at my house?
So Ace sells a flexible concrete sealer. That's like a caulking.
Okay.
And you can just caulk your seams. It fits a wide enough gap to actually make a foam roll. Looks like just round. You can shove it in there first and then caulk over the top of it.
Interesting.
And then smaller cracks, just, your caulking gun. And they have the gray caulking to match your sidewalk. And if it's asphalt, they have the black to match your.
See, I did not know this.
Yep.
So I have more maintenance to do.
I mean.
Oh, yay. I love it. I love it. But here's the thing. I think this is why we do these every year.
And Eric Andrews does this.
Awesome. Oh, good. APC.
We do have a guy that does the sealing and the crack filling.
But this is why we talk about maintenance like in the fall and in the spring. And even though it's a repeat, because some of us didn't know, and so we didn't do these things. So then it ends up being this huge thing where if we just do it a little, if we take care of it every single year, then it's a smaller maintenance project than what it turns into if we defer that maintenance.
Yes.
Okay. This is not on your list, but I just realized we're getting to check your sprinkler and irrigation system. I would say this is the same time that you want to spray your yard. Why are you laughing?
Because everybody's going to turn them on this year, and they didn't get them shut off before the first freeze last year.
Oh, no.
I've already had 3 or 4 phone calls about frozen sprinkler systems.
So if they didn't properly winterize their sprinkler system, then the pipes are more likely to freeze.
Yeah, and generally it's the piece that's above ground that freezes and breaks.
Oh, okay.
You can generally walk out there and see it.
So that's easier to fix.
Yep.
Is it costly?
The part's $150, and then if you pay Clements to do it, he's like $75 labor.
I don't know. He's done work for me before on a sprinkler system, and I appreciated the heck out of him. He's worth it.
Yeah, and Mickey Wise, he does mine at the office at the Oklahoma Avenue. He winterizes and unwinterizes every year for me. I don't even think about it. It just happens. So,
not to mention, he's just awesome. Do you know about that time at High Plains Tire, I had to drop the Jeep off, and I was waiting, and he said, "I'll give you a ride to your office."
Yeah,
that's a nice person.
No, thank you. They just let me walk.
Yeah, well, you needed to. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we need to have the sprinklers and the irrigations checked. What do they check for?
Well, they just make sure as your grass grows, they need to raise the heads up. So they're not, when they're spraying, they're not spraying into the dirt.
Gotcha.
So they have extensions for those. And then obviously to make sure they're not broken, cracked through the winter. You stepped on it, rode a mower over, broke it, whatever. They just make sure they're running right and coverage is correct.
Whenever you do circles in your yard in the snow?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. But this is the same time that you want to spray the pre-emergent. So this is when, so I do call somebody to come spray my yard.
It is time to spray for stickers.
Time now, isn't it?
Now.
And then again in June. And then again later in the summer. Like, I don't think that I understood.
You pre-treat today. Well, I say today. It's March 1 on this kind of ish.
When we're recording.
Yes. I'm hoping by the time you hear this, you've already pre-emergented.
Yes.
And then you spray in April.
Okay.
Like an MSMA style product that kills the growing ones. And then you pre-treat again in June. And then you spray in August.
So I did not understand how many times to spray the yard. I knew at a house that we had in Laverne, and we had horrible stickers, and I knew I had it sprayed 2 or 3 times annually, and I knew that within a couple of years, I really had those stickers under control. And when I moved into my tiny house, I only had stickers and weeds, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yep.
Like, I've told the story before. My daughter goes, "Mom, you can't have the yard sprayed. We won't have anything to hold the dirt down."
Yeah.
And it was about that bad.
It seemed
and
bad.
so whenever I started spraying and realized there was even more opportunity to have the yard sprayed to help me maintain the stickers plus digging stickers, because I think that property, if I had not been
digging them.
picking stickers. That was what I did for fun for, I don't know, a couple of years. Without picking stickers, I don't think that we would have gotten that under control.
No way.
In fact,
crazy.
Last summer, I was not at home. Of course, I'd already moved. I guess it's not home. That was confusing. Man, the stickers are already trying to make their way back. So I think picking stickers is as important as the spraying, but the spraying is imperative.
Yeah. So the pre-emergent is a spray and also a granule use, either one. And then the other thing about Bermuda, if you have Bermuda grass, if you will water and fertilize a lot, Bermuda will choke out stickers.
What temperature do I need it to be before I start doing that?
I think
can I do that now?
I mean, you can go ahead and start. People start fertilizing in the winter.
Oh.
So it gets down in the soil deeps.
I had in my mind that it needed heat for some reason.
Yes, Bermuda needs heat to grow. So, I mean, I don't know what the temperature is. I'll guess 78 degrees.
But remember, he's just guessing.
My theory.
I'll probably quote that later and forget you were guessing. That's what I do. Well, Brian says.
So it is Bermuda thrives in heat. So, but yeah, and then you just put the water to it and put the nitrogen to it, and as it thickens up, it chokes out your stickers.
Okay, next up, prevent mosquitoes.
Oh, anything that's holding water. So a stagnant pond, a 5-gallon bucket of water, anything, flower pots that have water standing, any standing stagnant water anywhere on your property or near your property, a ditch in the backyard that's, any type of retention style, something. You can go buy a small bud killer and dump in there, and it'll seal the top of the water and kill any of the mosquito larvae in the water. I would say gasoline or diesel works really good, but that's probably not legal.
I don't think you should say that, actually.
But back in the day, I heard that worked well.
But we've learned a lot since back in the day.
And it doesn't take very much, a drop or two. But
wow.
And so if you have an old swimming pool, so like in my sister-in-law house, she's got a swimming pool that's covered, so we probably need to treat it.
Right.
There's all kinds of things. Behind your shed, you have an old 5-gallon bucket you forgot about. It could produce thousands of mosquitoes, and you're not like, where are they coming from? That's where.
Okay, so easy things like that with the 5-gallon buckets.
Get rid of the water.
Just get rid of the water.
Yep.
Otherwise, so my parents have their yard sprayed. They have their property sprayed for mosquito repellent.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I don't understand it, and I have no idea how long it works, but my mom swears by it, and my sister, I think, was doing it too, if I remember correctly. Yeah. They're in Bethany. They're not here.
Yeah. And I know there's some people in town who fog their yards during the winter. In summer, they've got foggers that if they're going to have a party 2 or 3 days prior, they fog the whole yard.
What do they fog it with? What do you mean?
They have a fogging machine.
Is it just fog, or do they put a pesticide in it?
They put a pesticide, some kind of a thing in there. And it's supposed to be an all-natural something or other. Maybe it's hibiscus.
Lemongrass.
Grass or something. I don't know. Something flowery.
Hibiscus smells way too good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's something to investigate. I know that we don't do that a lot up here. But, oh my gosh, it's already time?
Yep.
Okay.
So check your windows, check your stuff, check your air conditioner.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Have it serviced. It's good to have it serviced every year, actually. It'll lengthen the life of your heat and air system. So
absolutely.
Give us a shout. If you got any more questions, 580-334-2303.
580-216-0090.
All right. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.